What is happiness? That's the first question. What is happiness? Second question is, what is the relation between happiness and joy? Whatever pleases the mind, whatever the mind likes, is called happiness for the mind. Simple. Whatever the mind likes is happiness for the mind. Whatever. And whatever means whatever. It could be anything. So there is no complexity in this. Whatever the mind likes is its happiness. Now obviously the question of liking something, being attracted towards something, arises only when there is a feeling of incompletion. The greater is the incompletion, the stronger is the like. The stronger is the like, the more happy we are. We say, this gives me so much happiness. And that is the entire game of liking and disliking. The more is your suffering, the deeper is your incompletion, the greater is the intensity of your likes. You'll be a very passionate man. Eager to achieve happiness. Let's just call that the plane of duality in which the mind usually operates. So this plane, let's say the XY plane, is the plane of duality. Let the x-axis represent happiness and let the y-axis represent suffering or incompletion. And there is a clear linear relationship between the two, something like y is equal to mx. One can increase only with a proportionate increase in the other. You cannot have happiness without incompletion. The stronger is the pull that an object causes in you, the more certain it is that you have been missing that object. Is that not so? The more you have been missing something, the greater is the pleasure in achieving it. So to have the pleasure of achieving, you must first greatly miss it. No missing, no pleasure. That's that XY plane. We all want to enhance happiness, maximize happiness, without understanding the nature of happiness. Without understanding that for more happiness there has to be commensurately more incompletion, separation, a sense of suffering, a sense of missing. Now I'm asking this question to you. There is this plane, the XY plane. And in the XY plane, the law of duality operates. Right? That's the plane of the mind, the normal plane of the mind. The law of the duality says that in this plane, if the X variable increases, the Y will increase and vice versa. That's the law of duality. Right? If X will increase, so shall Y. If Y shall increase, so shall X. They are related by the equation Y is equal to mx. Right? And X happens to be your happiness. Tell me, how is it possible to increase X without causing an increase in Y?
Parallel.
Can there be some way?
Yes, parallel to.
Whatever you will do in this plane will not help. Whatever you will do in this plane will not help, because in this plane the inviolable rule of duality will always operate. But let's see, is it possible to somehow increase happiness without increasing suffering?
Going on the dimension.
Let me take the answer just mathematically. You will understand its mental analogy easily. As long as the mind remains in its usual plane, it will be confined by, subjected to the law of duality. But there is a wonderful power, you could call it an option, available to mind, which is to leave this plane. Which is to not to be in this plane at all. This plane itself arises from somewhere, from another dimension. The mind has the power, the option to move towards that origin. And that origin is another dimension altogether. So let's have a ZX plane. A little bit of mathematical treatment. A ZX plane vertically here, right? Orthogonal to our XY plane. Here, won't it be possible to increase y without increasing x? In the ZY plane, won't it be possible to increase y without increasing x? Yes. You can nicely keep x at 0 and keep increasing y. And you have a wonderful thing with you. Suffering less happiness. As long as you are in this normal plane of mind, your happiness is always accompanied by suffering. But there is a way, surely a way, to have happiness which does not bring suffering along with it, which is not caused by suffering and which does not cause suffering. Right? The mind will have to rise above its dualistic plane. Mind will have to move towards its origin. There, the normal laws of duality do not operate. If I want to maximize happiness in the dualistic plane, what will happen? I cannot maximize happiness, because before I maximize happiness, suffering will increase so much that I won't be able to tolerate it. Getting it? We all want to consume happiness more and more, right? Maximize it. But what will happen if you want to maximize happiness here? What will happen? So now let me define joy. The highest happiness is called joy. Write down. The highest happiness is called joy. We have taken two very simple definitions. We said happiness is that which the mind likes. Now we are saying the highest happiness is joy. But we are saying that with a caveat. We are saying that highest happiness is not at all possible in the normal mental plane. Why?
To increase the suffering.
Why is infinite happiness, why is highest happiness not possible in the dualistic plane? Why?
Because we will not be able to suffer.
That much
Suffering and happiness go hand in hand in dualistic plane.
Before you get that happiness, you will have to get so much suffering that you'd be broken. There would be nothing. Getting it? Your entire system, the organism would have collapsed. Now that's the limitation with trying to maximize suffering in the ways the world tries to maximize, trying to maximize happiness in the ways the world tries to maximize happiness. It tries to maximize happiness, and the more it tries to maximize happiness, the more sorrow it brings upon itself. And then at some point, the entire effort to be happy, that also collapses. It's like trying to run faster and faster. We all know that as per the theory of relativity, the faster you run, the greater is your mass. So the more you approach the speed of light, let's call that joy, the more impossible it is to keep running. That's what the theory says, right? As the velocity of a particle increases, its effective mass keeps increasing. Keeps increasing. Now you are trying to increase your velocity, and what is happening to your mass? It is increasing. Now as your mass is increasing, how feasible it is to increase your velocity even more? More difficult. So the faster you are running, the more difficult it is becoming to run even faster. That's the case with happiness as well. Happiness brings its own nemesis along with it. So the more happy you are, the more difficult it is to become happier. The more you are suffering, the easier it is to be happy. Is it not so? Does that not come from our everyday experience? The more you are suffering, the easier it is to be happy. And the more happy you are, the more difficult it is to be even more happy. Is that not so? Right? Now that's a very sad limitation. We want happiness, but we simply cannot get happiness in the mental plane, in the dualistic plane. There is nothing wrong or sinful with happiness. Happiness is what the mind likes. And what can be wrong with liking? Mind cannot get what it likes. It cannot get it there. So the wise mind, the observant mind, which is able to look at its own nature, which is able to see what is happening in the plane of duality, comes to realize that efforts in this plane are useless. All my calculations, all my endeavors are self-defeating. Not that there is somebody else to impede them. It's just that the law says that you can succeed only with failure. So the more I succeed, the bigger a failure I am. The observant mind comes to see this. And it says that it's stupid to keep trying. It's stupid. It's totally stupid to waste my energies in this plane. This plane is a very useless plane. Not that I cannot work, not that I cannot expend energy, but it's so pointless. It's absurd. What am I working for? Even if I work, what am I working for? My own frustration. In this plane, the more you work, the more deeply frustrated you will be. Won't you be? The more you achieve, the deeper will be your frustration. Why? The curve is rising, and when the curve is rising,
There's a direct relation.
there's a direct relation. So it says no. This won't do. This won't do. It says Is there another plane? Is there another realm of existence which is non-dual? Yes, I want the maximum happiness, but I'm sure I cannot get the highest happiness here. I'm not somebody who is avoiding happiness. I'm not one of those who say that happiness is a crime and that you must have long faces and drooping shoulders and appear grave and gloomy all the time. No. I must surely be happy and I must be fully happy. But I cannot get that happiness here. And I must get it because that's what I like. That's what I like. I must get it. It discovers that other realm, that more fundamental realm. There also, the law of proportional increase applies. Just as we said y is equal to mx applies in the xy plane, let's say y is equal to kz applies in that other realm. What is z? Z is something which is obviously orthogonal to this xy plane, right? It goes like this, like this. If this be the xy plane, that z goes like this, vertical. Let's just call it depth or height.
Yes.
Or let's call it immersion. Right? Right? Immersion, the depth of immersion. That's the z-axis. And the law y is equal to kz applies. Happiness is increasing with the increase in your immersion. Happiness is increasing, but without a consequent increase in suffering. Your x-axis, which is the happiness axis, you're seeing a lot of movement there. Happiness is increasing, but nothing is happening on the y front. That's lying silent, dormant, zero. So that's the difference between the wise man and the fool. Let's understand this very, very clearly. Very, very clearly. The fool tries to maximize happiness in the duality plane through the route of doing, through the route of achievement. Both the wise man and the fool are looking at the same thing. They are looking at happiness. But the fool does not understand what is happiness. So he is operating in the XY plane and trying to maximize it there. The route he has taken is the route of doership. He is saying, I'll achieve it. So yes, he does get some happiness. Don't we see that people do get happiness because of their efforts? Have we not seen that? Yes. People work hard and ultimately they achieve something and then they feel happy. Don't we see that all around? But whatever happiness comes to you as a result of your effort, is always in the dualistic plane. This happiness will be accompanied, we are repeating this happiness will be accompanied by suffering. So yes, we are not denying that in this plane happiness is not possible. Happiness is possible, but a very tragic kind of happiness. A very tragic happiness. And that happiness will not only bring suffering along with it, it can also never reach its climax. We have talked about it, right? Because if it reaches its climax, then the suffering would also reach its climax. That's the fool for you. Trying to maximize happiness through doership. And then there is the wise man. He too is maximizing happiness, but he is not maximizing it by doing. He is maximizing it by immersing. He is in another plane. He has understood that this is useless. This is useless. That exactly is what has also often been called as renunciation. Now do you understand renunciation? Seeing the stupidity of it all, you don't want to chase it. That is renunciation. Renunciation is not a particular act. Renunciation is the dropping, the spontaneous dropping that happens when you see that how stupid it is to keep holding. You have been holding and holding, chasing and chasing, and a point comes when you see the absolute stupidity of it all, and you drop it, and the chase stops. That is called renunciation. In this plane, in the plane of immersion, you are an outright winner. You can have as much happiness as you want without an iota of suffering. Only problem is, it is not your usual mental plane. It is not your usual worldly happiness. You will have to move. The entire sense of I, which is related to this plane, will have to dissolve. Yes, there will be great happiness, but that happiness will come as you keep getting immersed, as you keep getting dissolved. Now that's a bit of a risk. Happiness is coming, but the one to whom happiness is coming is dissolving as the happiness is coming. The mind does not want to take that risk. Mind says that normal dualistic plane is fine with me. I might be suffering, but at least I am. In the plane of immersion, great and free and costless happiness is there, without suffering. But a small price has to be paid, and that small price is, as I keep immersing deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, I keep dissolving. I am no more. Mind says, if I am no more, then who will get the happiness? Great logic. The mind is a good logician. Mind says no. Let me suffer, but at least I'll exist. That's the logic of the coward. Don't you see that? I might be suffering, but at least I exist. In the plane of immersion, you don't suffer. There is unbounded happiness, but your existence takes a beating. You are an outright victor. But that victory is accompanied by your death. The coward cannot accept it. The coward says, let me suffer, let me be beaten, let me be humiliated, let me be frustrated. Let life make a mesh of me. But at least I am there. This is the plane of joy, needless to say. What happens in the plane of immersion is joy. Suffering less, happiness. And because it is suffering less, hence it can be taken to its climax. We had said joy is the, what was the definition of joy that we took?
Highest.
Joy is the highest. Obviously that joy is not attainable in the
Dualistic plane.
dualistic plane. The plane of joy is the plane of immersion. There you can have joy and deeper joy and deeper joy and deeper joy and deeper joy, and there is no end. That's how the ultimate truth, the final reality, has also been variously described. That it is great and then it is greater than great. Now do you see what it means? You have joy and you can have more joy. And then you can have a little bit more. And it never ends. More and more and more is always flowing. There is no resistance. There is no limit. There is no price to pay except a small price. The price of your head. For so much joy, obviously, you can pay that price. Getting it? So, by all means, be happy, but be fully happy. And full happiness you will not get here. You will only get tainted, corrupted, botched up happiness here. Half your face will be smiling and the other half will be in tears. That's the story of mankind. That's what the wise man says. The wise man, remember, in some sense is a big hedonist. You understand a hedonist?
No.
A pleasure seeker. The wise man is not a world renouncer. We had talked of renunciation, but understand this. He is the greatest consumer of happiness. What do you think? You think the usual mode of thinking is that this world, this material world, is for people and their small happinesses and sorrows and such stuff. And then there is a sannyasi. And the sannyasi has nothing to do with happiness. He does not want happiness. This notion is absolutely misplaced. It's a foolish notion. The sannyasi is the seeker of the highest happiness. He is highly ambitious in that sense. He says, you want happiness, so do I. But you will not get it because your means are foolish, because you do not understand what you are doing. And because you are a coward, you are not prepared to give up yourself. You will not get it. He wants happiness, and he wants happiness in ample quantities. Overflowing, effulgent happiness. Do we want happiness? Anybody here who says that he does not want to be happy? Then get the message clearly. You will not get it here. Where?
XY.
I mean, you may get a little bit here and there. But whenever you will get it, then too you will have a price to pay. You'll have a price to pay, a steep price. So all you pleasure seekers, all happiness hunters, realize clearly that happiness is a worthy goal. Happiness is not to be criticized. There is nothing sinister about happiness. But if you want to get something, get it fully. Why not? Don't you deserve it? Don't you deserve the highest? And don't you deserve a fair deal? Would you want to go to a hospital where you are cured of one disease and infected with another? When you go to a hospital, you want a fair deal. Do you want happiness of this kind where you are given happiness and along with that you are given a lot of suffering free? Is that a fair deal?
No.
That's like being made a fool of. Is that not?
Yes.
You gave me happiness and along with that you gave me?
Suffering.
Isn't that stupid? Isn't that stupid? What's the point in laughing when laughter is always accompanied by misery and tears and restlessness? What's the point in celebrating when before and after the celebration again there is that same complaining and void? You're dancing and you might get some pleasure in that dancing. We are not rejecting that. But what's the point in such dancing and merrymaking when before the dance you are sick and after the dance you again feel so empty and sick? Have you seen a place where a party has taken place? How does it look after the party?
Garbage dump.
That's our life. Music and dance and wine and celebrations. And after that, garbage dump. And it's such a sorrow sight to see. Is that not?
Yes.
Huh? The morning has arrived. And there is nothing more. And you can't party every night. You cannot reach the climax of partying. The wise man parties every night. And to add a little more to it, every day as well. Is that exciting?
Yes.
Young people, we all are. So, हरिवंश राय बच्चन, it was. हर दिन होली, रात दिवाली, रोज मनाती मधुशाला. A party in the day, a party in the night. But our party, when we party, we have to drink, right? And if we drink in the day and in the night, in 15 days, the liver will be
Gone.
fully tight. That's another madhushala. That's another kind of drinking. Where you are drinking harnish continuously and yet nothing is happening to your liver. Win-win situation. So much pleasure without any damage. So much attainment without any price to pay. And when we party, there are huge bills to settle. So you can party, and then after that, when everybody would be gone, 3 or 4 people would still be there. Who would they be?
The persons who have come to collect the bill.
The persons who have come to now settle their dues. Sir, this is for the food you consumed. This is for the dance floor. This is for the Shamiana. What is the point in this kind of partying? First you party and then you pay. And the more you party, the more you pay. And then you go and pay the doctor as well. Sir, something is happening to my liver. Existence invites all of us to another kind of party, but that's in another realm, another plane. You'll have to get out of your normal comfort zone. A little bit of courage is needed. A little attention is needed so that we can see what is happening in this plane. What is joy? The ultimate happiness. But that ultimate happiness is not attainable here. There is no way except the way of immersion. All your other ways are located in the dualistic plane. Your most intellectual ways, your most scientific ways, your most clever ways, whatever they are located in the dualistic plane. Those ways cannot help. There is only one way, only one way, only one road, only one road. No other road will take you to the highest happiness. Is that becoming clear? We are not rejecting happiness. Let's get that notion out of our head. Happiness is wonderful. We are not rejecting laughter. Please do laugh. But let that laughter not be a stupid laughter. Laughter is wonderful. Tears too are wonderful. But stupidity is not wonderful. Let's party. Let's celebrate. But let that be a genuine celebration. Getting it? Whatever we have said, does that tally with what you have understood here? On reading this, is there some incompatibility?
इसमें हैप्पीनेस को उसमें ही बताया उस स्टेट में when we sleep, when we are sleeping.
पैराग्राफ में लिखा है
वो जहाँ पे वो स्लीप है वो है कि वो वाली स्लीप जिसमें माइंड की एक्टिविटीज एकदम ही रुक जाती हैं. लिखा होगा ये.
दो जगह दिया है, एक जगह दिया है नॉर्मल स्लीप और दूसरी जगह डीप स्लीप.
हाँ, तो नॉर्मल स्लीप वो है जिसमें मन अभी चालू है, उसको मन की तेजस अवस्था कहते हैं. तो क्या लिखा है उसके बारे में? ये कहाँ पहुँच गए आप? हैप्पीनेस में ही है.
फर्दर दैट हैप्पीनेस इज डेली एक्सपीरियंस्ड बाय एवरीवन इन स्लीप व्हेन देयर इज नो माइंड.
हाँ, वो डीप स्लीप है, वो डीप स्लीप है, सुषुप्ति. तो वो उसमें ये कह रहे हैं तुम कितने भी डीप सफरिंग में हो, तुम्हें कैंसर है, तुम्हें कल फांसी दी जाने वाली है, पर जब तुम गहरी नींद में हो तो तुम्हें कोई कष्ट है?
नहीं.
बस यही है, यही कह रहे हैं वो. दूसरी तरफ तुम राजा हो, पर जब तुम गहरी नींद में हो तब तुम राजा हो?
नहीं।
हो क्या? वो यही कह रहे हैं कि जो ये प्लेन है ना, प्लेन, जिस प्लेन में हमारी नॉर्मल हैप्पीनेस और सफरिंग रहती है, डीप स्लीप में मन इस प्लेन पर नहीं रह जाता। इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि वो इमर्शन वाली प्लेन पर चला गया, वो कहीं नहीं रहता, वो बस एक बिंदु रूप में सिकुड़ के बैठ जाता है। हाँ, हाँ, ऐसे कह लो कि ओरिजिन पे बैठ जाता है। इमर्शन नहीं है वो, इसीलिए सुषुप्ति समाधि नहीं होती। पर उसमें इतना तो पता ही चल जाता है सुषुप्ति में कि पूरे तरीके से तनाव से मुक्त हुआ जा सकता है। आप गहरे से गहरे तनाव में जी रहे हो, कह तो रहा हूँ ना, कल आपको फांसी दी जाने वाली है, लेकिन उससे पिछली रात भी अगर आप डीप स्लीप में हो तो काहे की फांसी? काहे की फांसी? तो ये कह रहे हैं।
एक ये लाइन है, द कॉज ऑफ लव इज ओनली हैप्पीनेस।
द कॉज ऑफ लव इज
ओनली हैप्पीनेस। तो लगा एट द सेम टाइम एवरीबडी लव्स हिमसेल्फ बेस्ट। द कॉज ऑफ लव इज ओनली हैप्पीनेस।
when he brings in the word love here, it would be great to, let's just mathematically, I know that's foolish, but let's just for the sake of analogy, in the framework that we established, where is love? So there is this plane and there is a plane orthogonal to it. Where is love in all this? Where is love?
YZ. YZ.
Huh? So what is love?
Immersion.
What is love?
Joy. Joy.
Love is the pull that brings you out of the dualistic plane. You may write it down. Love is the pull of that source which snatches you away, which tears you away from the dualistic plane. Without the pull of the source himself, you can never come out of the dualistic plane. Appreciate this. Whatever you will do will always be in the
Dualistic plane.
So how will you come out of the dualistic plane? Can you come out of the dualistic plane through your effort? So love is what pulls you away from this plane, because your effort cannot take you away from this plane, right? Love is that.
So is it accidental that someone is getting out of that dualistic plane?
It's a very democratic love. It does not impose itself. It's available, but it pulls you out only when you say that I am ready to be pulled out. Love does not choose. That love is choiceless. He does not discriminate. The source, the origin does not discriminate. His love is always available, but he respects your choice. As long as you say that I don't want to come to you, he says, all right, I'll wait. Anyway, time does not exist with me, so I'm cool. I'll wait.
Someday.
You see what you want to do. You want to be there a little longer, so be it. That pull is always available. But as long as you have a great belief that you can get happiness in this plane Why will you agree to be pulled up? That's the logic of the mind. I want happiness and I can get happiness here. Then why should I go somewhere else? That's the fool's mind. That's the mind that has never paid attention, that has never tried to see what is really happening in his life. So, submission in love happens only in attention. The inattentive mind will never get love. That's his punishment. The inattentive mind will keep thinking that things are all right. I'm working. Whenever I work, I get some result. Sometimes the result is nice, so I feel happy also. Let me work a little harder. Let me employ more clever means. That will give me more happiness. And sometimes it does give you more happiness. You become a big industrialist. And you tell the entire world, see, I tried and ultimately I
Made it.
made it. I am the go-getter. So as long as you have beliefs like these, you will not accept the call of love. You are busy with so many other things. Who has time for love? You are busy with your own achievements. I can make it. What is this, all this love and all? Don't do anything. Just be a lover. Immerse, get drowned, die, dissolve. What stupidity. This power in myself. There is strength in my biceps. There is sharpness in my thought. I'm like an eagle, soaring high, swooping down upon its prey, succeeding, collecting trophies, collecting encomia, praised all around. What is all this love, immersion? Why bother? Why bother? Come on, fight. Show what you have got. This plane is all that there is, the dualistic plane. So be an achiever. How much is your salary? How high is your mansion? How many people praise you? And love is a silent call. When there is so much of stupid banter, that silent call is not heard. There are these birds chirping very unobtrusively, and you can have a cacophony being played here. Who will hear the chirping of these birds? Who will hear? Love is like this. Always available, but seldom heard. So we'll be pleasure seekers. We have not come here to waste our life. But then we don't want half-baked, botched up kind of pleasures. We want the utter climax of pleasure, not some stupid foreplay after which nothing happens. We want the deep orgasm of pleasure, right? And let's not settle for anything less than that. Let's not reconcile ourselves to the normal middle class life. A flat, a car, a wife, kids, a little bit of progress, a fine enough bank balance, some respectability, some hope. Foreign vacations once a year. This much of pleasure won't do. It's insufficient. Our appetite is far greater. We want more. We want more. This won't do. That 5 days in a year you become happy. This won't do. I want to be happy and I want to drink happiness to the hilt. Give me more. Let it keep coming. It's not damaging my liver. Give me more. Don't make a fool of me. I'm not going to settle for anything less than the highest. I'm not going to settle for anything less than the fullest. Incidentally, that is also the religious man who says, I'm not going to settle for anything less than the highest. That is the religious mind. And I'm saying that is also the pleasure-seeking mind. But not your normal worldly pleasure-seeking mind. So say clearly, announce to yourself, I'm not going to settle for anything compromised. I won't take it. Somebody would come to you and say and claim, I love you. See whether that love will sustain itself under all circumstances, at all times, all places. If it won't, then say nothing less than the fullest would do. Either give me everything or give me nothing. So previously as well and again I say don't compromise. And this is what I mean when I say don't compromise. Don't accept these teeny weeny pleasures that come to you in the worldly plane. And there are a lot of these tidbits of pleasures. A baby is born in the house and for 2 months you are very happy. Aren't you? And then what happens to that happiness? What happens to that? Your normal life offers you all these sporadically, so that you are not totally disappointed. Because total disappointment will be dangerous for the world. The totally disappointed man will no more belong to the world. So the world keeps on throwing some crumbs at you so that your hope is sustained. Ah, right. I'm not starving. Once a week for 5 minutes, I get to be happy. So there is hope. The memory of those 5 minutes keeps me going. What stupidity is this? Don't settle for this. Don't compromise. Either everything or nothing. And everything is possible. Please do not become cynical. We are saying everything is possible. Getting the absolute is possible. You are not destined to suffer. Nobody is destined to suffer, and in fact, nothing suffers. This grass never suffers. Only man suffers. You are not destined to suffer. Happiness is possible. The highest happiness is possible. The absolute is very much within your grasp. You just have to say yes. You just have to say yes. Chacha, yes? This kind of yes to the absolute. Look at the immensity of his love. And look at your yes. It should be a loud, roaring, thundering yes. Then something will happen. You have to give a befitting response to the ultimate. He has been such a persistent lover. He has been loving despite us being such fools. We have rejected, we have ignored, we have insulted and humiliated. And what's more, we have often declared that there is nothing called the source. Half the world today says there is nothing called the source. And there is no calling. When there is no invitation, what to say yes to? So in spite of all this, He's there. When somebody calls you with such earnestness, with such unfailing regularity, so unconditionally, then you embrace him like mad. You don't whisper a yes meekly, like a meow. Somebody has been proposing to you since 12 billion years. And how do you accept his proposal? I do. Is that how you accept his proposal? We have been liars and fools and cheats. Yet he says it's all right. Whatever you are mine. I love you. Five minutes of happiness. That you can easily get. He will bring some snacks and you will be happy. By the way, is he bringing something?